Okay, so for those of you who really appreciate, the raw art and engineering of motorcycles, and especially if you're drawn to that distinct presence of a bobber, well, today's deep dive, it might challenge some common ideas. We're going to try and unravel what truly makes these bikes tick and why they command such a dedicated following.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here, I think, is the source material we're working with. We've been digging into this incredibly candid interview is with someone who calls themselves a hardcore bobber rider. And they really weren't holding back. Promised to share some, quote, unfiltered thoughts.
Yeah.
Even admitted up front that what they had to say might not sit well with every bobber fan.
Which is exactly what you want for a deep dive like this, right? That honesty.
Absolutely.
So our mission today, it's really to understand the essence of bobbers. I mean, not just the iconic style, which is undeniable, or their pretty rich history, but whether they genuinely live up to all that hype. Is there maybe an ugly truth, as they put it, behind this stripped-down bivvy?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to explore both sides. The profound passion these bikes ignite, but also the practical realities. What it's really like owning and riding one straight from someone who, well, lives it every day.
And if we kind of connect this to the bigger picture, the central tension that really jumped out from the source material is quite striking.
Yeah.
You've got the bobber's undeniable visual appeal on one hand, and then you have this writer's surprising assertion that actually they're kind of overhyped.
Overhyped, well.
Yeah. I mean, the interviewee described them perfectly. Minimal, stripped down, raw metal solo seat. It's pure attitude. You get the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you ask, right? How much of that attitude is really rooted in performance and how much is just, well, the attitude itself?
Right. Image versus reality.
Exactly. Because historically, the roots are clear. It was about riders cutting weight, ditching parts, genuinely making their bikes faster, performance-driven.
Practical reasons initially.
Yeah, totally. Yet, the modern perception, or at least according to our source, seems to pivot much more towards image, following this common formula, as they called it: chop the fender, solo seat, wide bars, and calm it custom.
That formula approach is interesting. What really struck me about our sources' perspective was just how candid they were, especially about that gap between the historical ideal and, well, the modern reality. Our interviewee flat out said bobbers are more style than function.
Straight up.
Yeah. And they actually said, and I love this quote, "Ride a hardtail bobber for any distance, and your spine will remind you it's not built for comfort." And just so everyone's clear, a hardtail means zero rear suspension. None. It's you, the frame, and the road.
Oof. Yeah, that's a direct connection, all right?
So while they admitted bobbers are, quote, gorgeous to look at, the practicality for, say, daily long-distance stuff, it's often just not there. But, and this is key, despite all that, our source still passionately argued that bobbers are art, their culture, their rebellion.
So there's still that deep connection, that meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they also didn't shy away from admitting that for some people, maybe it is just, quote, pure cosplay.
Pure cosplay. That's a strong statement.
It is. It really makes you think about authenticity in the scene.
So let's just recap that core tension we've explored. You have this undeniable visual thing, minimal, stripped down, raw metal, solo seat, pure attitude, right? And you contrast that with our writer's frank view that maybe, just maybe, they're kind of overhyped.
Yeah. And we saw how those historical roots were genuinely about performance. Riders actively cutting weight, ditching parts, making the bikes go faster, real engineering tweaks.
Function first.
Function first. And that stands in pretty stark contrast to what our source described as the modern perception. Often boiled down to that common formula: chop the fender, solo seat, wide bars, and boom, custom. More about achieving a look.
Right. Prioritizing the image, perhaps.
And that admission from the rider that bobbers are ultimately more style than function, that really hits home, doesn't it? I mean, they didn't mince words about the practical side.
Not at all. The spine quote says it all.
Exactly. Try riding that hardtail any real distance, and yeah, your buddy will tell you it wasn't built for comfort. But even with those practical downsides acknowledged, they still held on to the idea of the bobber as art, culture, rebellion.
It's a fascinating mix, isn't it? Passion versus practicality.
It really is, especially when they also conceded, hey, for some folks, it might just be pure cosplay.
Yeah.
That throws another layer on it.
Absolutely. And this brings us to a really interesting final thought, especially since our source firmly believes bobbers will always have a place in motorcycle history. Given everything we've heard, what does the enduring appeal of the bobber, despite these admitted, very real practical limitations, what does that tell us about our own priorities?
Like when it comes to the things we love, the things we choose to engage with, How much does form matter versus function?
Exactly. Is the vibe, that feeling, that aesthetic, is that sometimes enough? Enough to sustain our passion, even when it clearly comes at a practical cost. Something for you to think about.